YouTube has thousands of productivity videos, each promising the next best hack that will change your life. These videos rake in millions of views, but mostly from viewers who are drowning in a false sense of productivity, stuck in a dopamine loop. And when they do actually go out and try to be productive, they fail. The illusion of productivity blinds them until they finally look back on their progress and wonder, where the fuck are the fruits of my labor? Now listen, if you're fine with a mediocre life because you didn't reach your goals, click off, because I'm going to explain the exact principles that changed my life and unlocked levels of achievement and productivity that I would have never experienced without them. I've been making YouTube videos for over 10 years, and since day one, it was always a dream to one day make it a career. Flash forward to 2019, where I drop out of community college and finally decide to start pursuing it as such. However, despite this being not only my passion, but my primary goal in life, I just sucked for years, going throughout my days constantly distracted and inefficient, which led to a lack in consistency that not only drastically limited the building of my video making skills, but the growth of my channel in general. I didn't have any specific levers to pull each day to make the most progress. Instead, I was going throughout my days just winging it. Of course, I had some loose ideas of what I want to achieve, like make YouTube videos and go to the gym. But eventually I begun to learn about dopamine, which made me much more aware of just how distracted and mentally drained I was. However, before my self-improvement journey and climb to the top, I had to reach a low. And that low was in 2021 when I got hooked on Call of Duty Mobile. Keep in mind, before this, I was an ex-video game addict, with Call of Duty being one of these staples in my childhood. So this app that I would only play once in a while became a game that I was playing for hours every single day. I even bought triggers that attached to my phone and thumb sleeves to play with. It was that serious. But deep down, I was self-aware of what I was doing, putting my main dreams on the back burner to chase cheap dopamine releases. So you want to know what I did? I made a second YouTube channel to put my Call of Duty Mobile gameplays onto. That way, it's productive. I was just mainlining copium straight into my veins. This obsession carried on for months until finally in December 2021, I snapped out of it and I quit cold turkey. And at long last, my true self-improvement journey began. I'm starting to realize how much more I want out of life. Clear goals are forming in my mind, and both my sense of urgency and my sense of purpose have exploded. So obviously, I instantly became super productive and knew exactly what I needed to do to maximize my efficiency, right? Well, no, because I was making a handful of mistakes that were killing my progress. But after a lot of frustration, introspection, and learning, I finally discovered how to fix these mistakes. And honestly, it's like I unlocked a new version of myself. Since then, my focus has skyrocketed, my direction is clear, and I've been experiencing the most progress made in my entire life. So here are the mistakes that are destroying your productivity and how to fix them. And mistake number one is, you are stuck in a dopamine loop. And I'm not talking about spending hours scrolling on TikTok. We all know that's bad for us. This dopamine trap hides itself in plain sight and even convinces you that it is valuable. Now, there's two main loops you get stuck in, and the first is through educational content. I used to constantly listen to educational podcasts and YouTube videos throughout my entire day. Regardless of whatever I was actually doing, I had an endless dopamine drip making me feel productive all the time. I kept going from video to video, podcast to podcast, because I felt that the best advice that was going to change everything was just around the corner. When deep down, I already knew the tasks I should be doing, but since I was learning so much, I felt accomplished regardless if I did them or not. Now, obviously, it is beneficial to take in new ideas and information, but the key is to have specific times when you do it, separate from your work time. For example, I may read a little bit in the morning, listen to a podcast while on a walk or at the gym, and I'll watch a YouTube video before I go to bed. However, when it's time to work, it's time to work. And those core goals of the day are going to be accomplished. And when you are consuming content, get that one nugget of information that lights your brain up, instead of just continuing to consume content, letting your mind overfill like a cup in the sink with water running in it, stop what you're doing and write it down, go for a walk, just sit with the information and let your mind generate organic ideas off of it. And the second major dopamine trap is when you won't shut up about your goals. We all know that person who is always talking about what they're working on. Oh, this is gonna be big, bro. This is it. I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this and this is gonna happen. It's gonna be epic. However, with most people, we often notice that their actual position in life hasn't changed at all. What's happening is he is chasing the dopamine hits that his brain gives him from just talking about his goals and what he's working on. And these hits are rewarding him just as if he was actually putting in the work. So avoid this mental masturbation cycle and get pleasure from the tasks themselves. If you continue to watch this video, I will explain how that happens. The second mistake is you are not engaging in deep work and entering flow state. Deep work is a term coined by Cal Newport, author of the book Deep Work, and it is undistracted, uninterrupted, hyper-focused work at your highest mental output possible. Deep work is not tasks such as scrolling through your email or scanning groceries. In fact, Newport describes this as shallow work because it's just mindless. The main instances of deep work is when you're learning a skill, mastering a skill, or applying the skill to increase your output. So the concept of deep working is actually pretty simple. You just focus as hard as you can for as long as you can, and thus obviously your highest quality results will be produced. Plus, the process of deep work typically results in you entering flow state. Deep work is an action itself, however, flow is a state of mind. And when you enter flow, all of the unnecessary parts of your brain shut down. You don't get tired, you don't get bored, and you become fully present and lost in the task at hand. This is why it's the best mental state for doing things, because you are quite literally in the zone. And this happens when a balance is created between the challenge of the task and your capabilities. Not too easy where it's boring, but not too difficult where it's frustrating and undoable. This is why flow state is almost always entered during a deep work session. Plus, it feels amazing. When you're in that high output, high efficiency state, you are fully aware of how productive you are being, and you begin to gain pleasure from the work itself. This is also the reason why mistake 2.5, multitasking, is typically frowned upon, because multitasking doesn't really exist. All you're doing is forcing your focus to go back and forth, killing any chances of deep work and flow. You know, I feel bad for women. They only enter flow state once a month. And if you haven't realized already, flow state is a type of mindfulness. So the more capable you are of being mindful, the easier it will be for you to enter flow state. And if you want to raise your levels of focus and mindfulness in a matter of minutes, I have a completely free 5-day guided meditation series that does exactly that. Link in the description, which will help immensely, because while the concepts of deep work and mindfulness are simple, they are very difficult. Because we live in an information economy, someone is always trying to shove information down our throats, typically via these fancy rectangles that we keep by our side all the time. The endless conversation that is social media is constantly trying to suck us in. The slot machine of new content makes it feel novel and productive every single time we open the app. Plus, thanks to instant messaging, everyone is able to interrupt our work all the time. So obviously keep your phone on silent, keep it out of your vision, but this leads me into the next mistake, and that is taking breaks. But I use the Pomodoro technique, so I need to take a 5-minute break every 25 minutes. No, you don't. Most of us are fully capable of working longer than 25 minutes, and you're just bribing yourself with the little dopamine hits. If you're only working for 25-minute periods, just itching for that timer to go off so you can open Instagram and look at butt cheeks. So the reason why the Pomodoro technique kind of makes sense is because the ratio of rest required for a period of focused work is not 1-to-1. So yes, you could work for 30 minutes and then 5 minutes is enough to refresh your brain. However, you got to keep in mind that if you're only working for these short periods of time, you're not going to enter flow state, and you keep having to disengage and re-engage in deep work. Instead of this, organically take a break when you've hit a wall or you've fully maxed out your mental energy in the deep work. But don't go sit on the couch and flood your brain with noise from your phone or your television. Rather, go on a walk, go to the gym, have a meal, something that allows your mind to truly rest. Now, a lot of this has to do with scheduling. So mistake number 4 is that you lack structure. Now, this was a huge issue for me because, like I said, I would just wing it every single day. So not only was my brain distracted and directionless, but I didn't even plan for times to engage in deep work. So once I added structure and made deep work a ritual, my output skyrocketed. So here are the 4 types of scheduling for deep work according to Cal Newport. Number 1 is seclusion. This is the most extreme method where you remove as much shallow work from your life as possible, meaning almost 100% of your time is in deep work. We see this when authors and musicians kind of go off the grid for a few months or even a few years, only to return with their best work yet. Unfortunately, this is quite unrealistic for most people because we have jobs and responsibilities that just don't allow for this type of schedule. But for those who can, this is best because deep work becomes your default. Plus, you're most likely in flow state for a majority of the time as well. The second type of scheduling is periodic. This is when you would carve out portions of your week, month, or even year to solely focus on deep work. Newport says that these periods need to be at least a full day long to reach the highest intensity of deep work. I prefer this method the most, but I do mix it with number 3, which is daily scheduling. We see this a lot with people who wake up super early in the morning, and then for those first few hours, they are solely entrenched in deep work. This is when you block out the same time each day that is fully dedicated to deep work. The schedule is the most realistic for people to form a habit out of it because you're blocking out the same amount of time each day for deep work. But unlike method 1 and 2, because you don't have a full day dedicated to deep work, Newport says that you will not enter maximum focus. Lastly is number 4, and that is just doing it whenever you can. This is the most flexible schedule, but the least successful. Due to us constantly having to switch in and out of that mental state, most of us won't be able to do it reliably. I don't really understand this one, but I guess if your life is just that ridiculously bonkers, this is the only one you can do. Additional ways you can add structure to your life is scheduling internet time, adding strict deadlines to follow, and if you really want to get deep, plan out every minute of your day. Not saying you'll hit it perfectly, but you will have a very rigid structure to follow, and then it's just a matter of discipline. The fifth mistake is that you simply don't see yourself as a productive person. Sure, you have goals, but subconsciously, you don't believe in your ability to reach them. This low self-image will cause you to unconsciously sabotage yourself and kill any chances at high-level productivity. Luckily, in the book Psycho-Cybernetics, Maxwell Maltz explains the two components in rewiring your brain to fix your self-image. The first step, and I know to some it sounds woo-wee, but trust me, it's science, is visualization. Write out your exact long-term goals. Then, as vividly and specifically as you can, take time to imagine yourself hitting those goals. Imagine the version of yourself that you became to actually make it happen. When you allow yourself to fully visualize this and actually experience the emotions as if you achieved it, your brain cannot differentiate that from reality. So as you continue to do this exercise over a period of time, you will subconsciously begin to see yourself as that highest version of yourself you're envisioning. And this contributes to the second step, which is to provide justification for your new self-image. This just means that over time you take the actions, like the ones we're discussing right now, to increase your productivity, which in turn justifies to your mind why you really are that version of yourself and not the unproductive mess you thought you were before. And finally, the last mistake is that you are not using metrics. Most people tend to reflect on their progress at the end of a week, month, or even a year, which is like a fat person's method of weight loss being that they just weigh themselves after a 6-month dieting period instead of counting their calories each day. This is silly because if they messed up and they didn't lose any weight or not enough weight or gained weight, they can't go back and change the results. I used to be like this. Instead of tracking progress on making videos each day, I would just look back on my channel growth at the end of a month, when what I should have been doing is implementing real-time metrics. Now, these will be a little different for each person, but find something that you can use as a direct measure of your progress towards your goals. For example, for me, I can just use how many words I type for a video script. Make sure the metric is something that is visible throughout your bouts of work so you can gain a sense of progress, which will not only further motivate you, but allow you to celebrate small achievements throughout your work. And at least for me, and I know a lot of men can relate, this boosts your overall happiness. And this is going to immensely increase productivity because research shows that when you feel positive towards your work, your productivity increases. So to stop sucking at being productive, avoid the dopamine loops, don't multitask, engage in deep work, enter flow state, take breaks sparingly and wisely, add structure to your schedule, cultivate a self-image of a productive person, and implement real-time metrics to gauge progress. Once again, if you want to rapidly increase your focus and mindfulness, allowing you to enter flow state and achieve deep work quicker and easier, I have a free 5-day guided meditation series in the description below. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something, and I have a video on the screen right now that you will also like, so just click it. Just click it, click it, click it, click it, click it.